Hi there. Welcome to example 5. This is, just to clarify, for 3.3, we're talking about rate of change and slope. And we're going to talk about undefined slope, specifically in this example. So just a little review for you if you didn't just watch the last video. We have talked about 3 different types of slope already. There's only 4 different types. And so we've talked about positive, negative slope, and zero slope. And then the last one is called undefined slope. And we've got to figure out what that is. What could possibly be left? Well, let's calculate what the slope of the line between these 2 points would be, because they're given to us in this example for a reason, right? So I'm going to have x1, y1, x2, y2. And I get -4 minus y2 is 3 over my x1 is -2, and then my x2 is -2 as well. Okay, so this turns into -4 minus 3 over -2 plus 2, and here is where we get into our issue. This whole fraction bar and then a 0, no. This is not possible. This is just literally, it is not mathematically possible. You will never have an instance where you have a 0 in the denominator and you can walk away from it just like, oh yeah, whatever, no problem. That's always going to be kind of a stop in the road, and you're going to say, all right, so I guess this doesn't work out. You're like, I guess, this is the end. It's the breakup sign. So undefined when you have a 0 in the denominator. And let's look at what exactly that means from the context of rise and run, because we've been looking at that with all of our slopes. So we're saying that we're going to rise -7, sure, whatever, but our run we're saying is 0. So we're saying that we can go up and down. So for this one, we go down 7. But then we don't go left or right. So think about if I was finding the slope between that point and then I guess the second point is there. Why is this a problem when I'm looking at it just like that? What's the problem with not having any run? And the answer is, if we're talking about slope, this is going to be some kind of chain thinking here. If we are talking about slope, then that means we're talking about linear functions. And if we're talking about linear functions, that means it has to be a function, right? That makes sense. And that means that it has to pass the vertical line test. Well, here's the problem. These 2 points, what connects them is a vertical line. And you're going to have the same thing if you were to graph the -2, -4, and -2, 3 that's up there. You're going to get vertical lines, and that's what gives you those undefined slopes. So undefined slope is straight up and down, and it is not something that we can have for functions. So this is, it doesn't work out, not a function basically. It's not what you thought it was. It's not a function. You can't find the slope of it if it's not a function. Okay? So, I'm going to not worry about giving you a try problem for that one, since it's kind of the same format as the rest of them, but I do want to make a very big summarizing table for you that's going to be very important for you to have, okay? Let's see if I can draw these equally. I think the answer is no. The answer is definitely no. That's a real bummer. Okay, so you're going to be making, clearly, 4 different categories for the 4 different types of slopes. So what are the 4 different types? We've got positive slope. We have negative slope. We have zero slope, or a slope of 0. And then we have undefined slope, which is technically a type of slope, but it's not a function. All right, so positive slopes. We said that those looked like this. So your positive slopes are always going to look like they're going uphill, and that's from left to right. So like as you're reading. Oh, geez. From left to right. You're always going to be reading these graphs from left to right, okay? Negative slope, what's that going to look like? You already know. It's going to look like that. You're going to have a downward hill. A downward slope. Go downhill. Downhill. That's what we want to say. Downhill. We're going lower from left to right. All right, next we've got zero slope, which we talked about already. Just like the rest of them, but let's really look at what this would look like on a graph, and it's going to look like a perfectly flat line. So you have no change in y. And then finally, last but not least, although it is going to be for us probably least used, because you kind of can't do anything with it once you get an answer with undefined slope, is going to be the undefined slope. And that is going to be a vertical line. And the vertical line fails the vertical line test. I'm going to add in 4 functions because it kind of seems like the vertical line should pass the vertical line test if anything was passing the vertical line test, but that's not what the vertical line test is referring to, right? All right, bad humor aside, that is all for example 5. I'm going to see you at example 6, okay? We're almost done.